All right, my freedom story, it's quite an intriguing one for me. So sometimes it's a bit difficult for me to even start it. I think the very first one that comes to my mind is when I just finished secondary school. You know, we had a little bit of a challenge at home, like financial challenges and going to school. So then I remember I was in school, and each time I came back home, you know, after a session, and then I came to get money from home to go back to school. And then my mom will only be able to raise, I had lost my dad then, so my mom will only be able to raise enough transport for me to go back to school, right? And when she raised the transport for me, she would give it to me. And then at the gate, she'll be shedding tears, I'll be shedding tears also, and telling me, please, can you just find a way to manage it? It's just my transport fare, actually. So it's enough to get me just back to school. And then another whole week, I don't even know how I'm gonna survive, right? So I had to devise a means of surviving in school. How did I survive? One, I was doing accounting. So we had some accounting lessons that were going on in school where they used to teach tax. There's a club called the Excel Club. So I had to join Excel Club, and Excel Club was more of an accounting club. I joined, and then I became one of the lecturers. So I started teaching people taxation because it was my favorite in accounting. I hated FA, FA. I liked costing, but FA was. So I started teaching, and then people started paying me. Then before you knew it, I started getting little money in school to survive. It was a tough period, but during then I learned one thing, that look, there might be times where you won't have anything, you know, to survive. It looks like the world is coming to an end. Like then I was always worried, how am I gonna finish my education and everything? But one thing I know that pulled me through was, even before getting into school, I did a lot of reading of motivational books. I had to get to appreciate who I was, and I had to appreciate the fact that where I was at that point in time was not who I was as an individual, and I knew that it was just a phase that was going to pass. I never became envious of someone whose parents brought him, you know, to school in a very big car. I never became envious of someone who was wearing designer or new stuff. I was always confident. Even if I walked into a place where everybody had gadgets I didn't have, I walked in there and I still felt confident, you know, because that's one of the first things I learned from home. And then over time, after finishing school, I did service. But one thing I also benefited from was the fact that at an early age, I told myself I wanted to be in music. First of all, that was my first passion. And then I wanted to be in, you know, the media. So I started to make friends with people. There was one man called Dr. Shuwadada. He was a reggae presenter. He used to do patwa on radio. I got close to him and he heard my voice. He said, he loved the singing, but the first thing he said, have you thought about presenting? And I'm like, presenting? I don't know. I see them on TV. He said, I think you can do it. And from then on till now, it's been from one journey to the other. There was a time, you know, brands always requested that I should do their voice for their brands and everything. So I worked in different media houses, and then, you know, got to know a lot about the media, got to know a lot about broadcasting and everything. Then after a while, I was able to mentor other people, let them know, okay, this is what I went through. If you went through something like this, don't get discouraged, because your freedom will come. It might be much later than you expect, but it will eventually come as long as you're focused, and then you keep developing yourself all along the way. My name is TitoDaFire, a singer, a broadcaster, an entrepreneur, and every other thing in between, yeah? And of course, this has been my own freedom story, and I hope you've learned something, and I hope it shares and inspires you to become free.